Hi y'all, hi everybody, it's Kimberly here. I'm doing my second part of my Biggest Fears series that I've started, and today I'm going to talk about alligators. There are a lot of alligators in Texas. I think we're the third state, I think Florida, then Louisiana, and then Texas has the third largest population of alligators in the U.S. And a lot of people don't know that. There are a lot of alligators here, and they're in about 1/3 of the state, and they're starting to encroach inward. They're starting to travel to other bodies of water, other lakes, and lay eggs in them and create a new breeding ground, a new home. And so a lot of people have no idea about that. Now there's Louisiana is, the bordering state on the east side of Texas. So East Texas is flooded with alligators. They're everywhere. They're in every body of water there. And there's a lot of swampy marshland and, bogs and stuff like that in East Texas. And along the coast, all along the coast, there are bodies of water, rivers and whatnot that they stay in, and they travel. The mating season is like in the springtime. I don't know, like May or April, May, whatever. And they start traveling around looking for mates, they travel around, and sometimes there's like carcasses in the road because there's so many, they get run over, and they're traveling, and they there's reports and pictures in the paper all the time. And I think a man in League City yesterday, I think it was yesterday, he saved his 4-year-old daughter from an alligator, from almost a 12-foot alligator. That's a big alligator. And it was in a canal, and I think League City, I'm not real sure where it is, but I think that's down by the coast. I think it's by, I want to say Galveston, but I'm not sure. There's so many cities in Texas, I don't know where they all are. I know where a lot of them are, but we have so many. It's such a big state, and I'm not real sure about exactly where it is, but it's, it's down in, I know it's down somewhere in a coastal area, but a lot of people aren't aware of this, and they come to Texas, and even people who live here sometimes aren't even aware of it. But that's one reason why I don't get in the lakes anymore, because I'm terrified of what's in the water. We don't have alligators where I'm at. We're not normally supposed to have them, and I don't think there's ever been any reports of them around here, but to me, that's one of my biggest fears. Terrified of alligators. And a lot of people, they feed them when they see them. They think it's, kind of a novelty thing to, take a picture feeding an alligator, and you're not supposed to do that. It's illegal in Texas. You can't do that. Because it makes the alligators think, you're a food source, so they won't be afraid to approach humans. And normally alligators will leave you alone if they're not hungry, or if you're not around their nest, or if it's not mating season or whatever. But a lot of people just don't know. And there's so many lakes and bodies of water in Texas that people swim in them all the time, and they go hunting and fishing. And if you're in East Texas and you're walking through marshy land, and you have to be careful. You have to watch out for gators. And if you're like bird hunting or looking or hunting for something, and you got to be careful about that. And then when you're by the coast, most canals or something, they usually they have like a sign or something if it's got a lot of gators in it or something. But there's a lot of places where they don't even, there's no signs or anything, no warning signs or nothing. And like I say, the gators are starting to come encroaching inward. They're becoming more and more, there's the population, I don't really know, I think there's probably about 500,000, maybe more, I'm not real sure. That's like, they're growing and growing. There's an alligator hunting season here, but there's so many gators that they're just overpopulating, I think, in a way. And you never know if they're going to be in a little lake or something, if they're traveling to and from, or they have nests that they make, and then they, those babies grow up and then they go away and they travel around and it just gets worse and worse. And there's been reports of gators in like Houston. Well, they're by the coast, so that would be normal. But in Dallas and Fort Worth and a couple of other places that were more like hundreds of miles from the coast, so they are starting to come inward more and more, and it's very dangerous if you don't know a lake or something in Texas and it's kind of in that area. I would be very careful, because I would never. There are pictures, I mean, every week there's a new picture of an alligator that was seen in this lake that there's never been an alligator in, and that's been eaten, been fed. Some people may have seen it, so it's starting to approach boats and stuff like that, and you can tell that is kind of a sign that it's probably been fed from a boat or something when it swims directly to your boat, because normally they'll just stay away or they'll just lurk in the water. But a lot of people have broken that rule and fed the alligators, so they're becoming more dangerous. And sometimes when you buy a lot in Texas that's on a lake, I would find out if there are alligators in the water, because a lot of people pay a lot of money for these lots, like $50,000 or $100,000 for a little bitty lot for lakefront property. They build a big old house on it, and then they find out that there's alligators in the lake right outside their front door, and they can't swim in the lake. And they can still fish in it or go boating, but they have to be careful and they can't go in the water. And there's people that have complained about that. There's like, I didn't know there were alligators here, I wouldn't have bought the property. And I've never heard of alligators being in this area, but it's becoming more and more of an issue. And I remember when I was a baby, we lived in Louisiana for about a year, and my mom was terrified of alligators. And I remember her telling me, I don't remember seeing them because I was so young. I have some faint memories of being there at the beach, and I was probably about a year, maybe a little over a year, and maybe a year and a half at the most. And I have a really good memory for how young I was. I can remember a lot of things like that, just little snippets. And I remember we were sitting on the beach and the water was coming up, and I can remember that. And I remember certain little things. I remember there was like, I don't know if it was like swampy land or something, but I remember we would be riding in the car, we'd go down this one road, and I remember this one scene. It was green, I want to say it was like Everglade looking kind of swampy land. I remember my mom would tell us, there was an alligator in the road, and how she had to turn around. She was scared of it, and she didn't want to go down the road to go to the grocery store. She would tell us that story all the time, and she was terrified of them. And I think it kind of transferred on to me, even though I never saw one when I was that young, and I didn't have any experience with it. But it just, I don't know, for her telling us that, and then all the things I've seen, yeah, I'm terrified of them. But I loved the crocodile hunter. I used to watch him all the time, and oh, it was so sad. I was so upset when he died, but I was terrified of him. And I remember my mom saying that, well, alligator stew was common around the area, that I ate it and I liked it, and she was saying that it had the flavor of chicken, and I don't remember that. I mean, I can't remember, I was so young, but I remember being teased about it as I was growing up, that I ate alligators, and I was like, better, than them eating me, so I was just really terrified of them, and I still am. And some fishermen have had really close calls. They've taken the pictures, and they've been, like I've said, they've been on the news and stuff like that. But a lot of them have not realized that there was alligators in the water, and they pulled their trot lines out, or their lines up, and an alligator has jumped up and grabbed their fish. So I think if that happened to me, I would just die of a heart attack right there. I would just, oh my God. I have a horrible fear of swimming in lakes and rivers and stuff like that. I won't do it anymore. I used to do it when I was young. I used to water ski and swim. We had a big lake where I grew up at, and we would go every summer. And At one point, well, there was a lot of water moccasins in the water that I saw, and every once in a while I'd see a big, huge turtle, and I started getting more and more scared of the water. And then one time they pulled out some catfish that were as big as me, and I was terrified. I was like, no more. I'm not getting in the lake. So I didn't water ski anymore, and I did not. I don't swim in lakes anymore. I'm terrified of them. I like to go fishing, but I do not get in the water. I might walk along the edge or something like that. And one time we were at a little creek one time, and there was a rattlesnake in the water. And I was walking along the edge. I was probably about 3 or 4 feet from it. And then it crawled up on the sand, and my sister was walking behind me. And it was, I mean, just slithering through the sand, trying to get to her. And I have a picture of it where it's in the background, and she's just walking. She's very little. She was like probably, I don't know, like 7, 8, maybe 7 or 8 years old. And you can clearly, or well, it's a little bit blurry, but I mean, you can see that it was raised its head up, and it was coming after her. And so that's probably one of the reasons I don't get in the lake either, because normally rattlesnakes don't get in the water, but it must have fallen in the water, and it was trying to swim to the shore to get out. So I just don't get in the water anymore. I'm terrified of what's in it, even though we don't have alligators where I live at. But they are, like I say, encroaching inward. They're I think to me it's the overpopulation. They're looking for new waterways and more places. There's so many of them that they're just, that's a natural thing for them to do, look for a new habitat. So if you come to Texas and you want to go fishing or swimming or be in the river or something like that, and there's a lot of river rides in Texas, a lot of places that they have the rafting little river things. I don't know. There have been alligators sighted in those rivers. I don't think anybody's ever been attacked or eaten in one, but oh my gosh, I wouldn't do it. Let's stay out of it. I think if it was in a big boat, I'd go fishing, but to be in the inner tubes and just floating down those rivers, no, I can't do it. I would die. I'd just have a heart attack. Can't do it. Okay, I'll go on with the next one. I just thought of that because of that report of the guy who saw the gator in League City yesterday. So that's why I made that video today. Okay. Bye, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe.